Hello and welcome to the Tea and Trails podcast. I'm Gareth Witts.
I'm Eddie Sutton. Hold your horses, everybody. If you're running, you might need to stop.
I've explained what's happening this week. It's a bit clunky. We were going to do it as part of the show on Friday, but we thought the content was so good.
No, we didn't think that. Don't say that. We didn't think it was good. It was just so long.
Well, I thought it was really worth sharing separately. It's such a powerful message. Thanks, Phoenix Lights, for sponsoring this week's interview. The best design comes from the actual needs of users. Phoenix takes providing mobile lighting products with excellent performance as the goal and born for harsh environments as its mission. Never forget why you started and your mission can be accomplished. And don't forget, patrons can enjoy 10% off over at phoenixlight.co.uk, and all you lovely listeners get 5% off with the code TNT5. Pop over to www.phoenixlight.co.uk. What was your head torches of choice in the kit bag?
I can't even go to the head torch story because but the head torch I wore over the moors was my trusty old Phoenix, and I thought of you, Gary, because I whacked it on full beam because I thought I cannot see this path.
Burning the candles.
But I carried 2 head torches for the night, and I thought I've got another one. It is the best head torch out there. Even when you're stumbling around, that head torch didn't let me down. And I like that message because I think that's quite a good message of never forget why you started. Never forget that you are not bigger than anything else. So here we go, guys. Sorry.
Buckle up.
It's another one, but it's another one of those. It's another one of those podcasts. If you're not into the weeping women, maybe. No, don't say that. For God's sake. Oh, Lord above. Right. This is just right. Here we go. Here is my tale, and thank you, Gary, for being such a kind listener. And I should start as well by finishing and starting with your crew that give up their time to Rach and Debs for carrying me along and for making tough decisions with me and for making sure that I came home safe. I did. I slept, went to sleep about 11, woke up about 3:30, 4. I was like, thank God, because the last thing you want is then I was able to eat my breakfast, 3 cups of tea, lubed myself from head to toe. Literally every crevice got absolutely a great good thing too. And then, very slowly made our way to start because I didn't want to be, we were all ready. We just had to put our trackers on, and then that's the worst, isn't it? Hanging around at a race start. But I was really relaxed. I was nervous, but I was like, you don't want to burn all your nerves. Lovely start. Piper, the sun, it was windy, but it was dry, maybe a little bit of drizzle. I used to wear these a lot. They're not in fashion at the moment. I think being a cyclist as well is my arm warmers, which I think is a great secret bit of kit because you can start, it's a little bit cold in your t-shirt. You think you want a jacket on, but the minute you start running with that backpack on, you're going to want to take it off. So I just had my arm warmers on. They worked a treat. And then you can just roll them down, roll them back up. But actually, I don't think I rolled them down till midday. It was just a wee bit chilly. Coast path, first 4 miles, delicious. I was imagining horrendous, but it was lovely. We ran up and down the cliffs, along the beaches, seagulls. You could see the lighthouse. And I knew you took a right at the lighthouse, and that was the end of the sea. So I was trying to make the most of it, going, when you next, see the sea, you're going to be at the end. So I was almost like, don't let it end, because when you turn right.
Yeah. So what's the vibe like, Eddie? Sorry, I'm fortunate we did the Lakeland 100 the other week, and that is buzzing from start to finish. This is a double the distance race. What's the start line like?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I was I had the blinkers on a little bit. I didn't want that to be overwhelming, but it was it wasn't like the Lakeland 100 vibe. There's obviously not that many. I don't know how many people started, but there was a pipe. I would say the atmosphere was electric. The atmosphere is incredible. Yeah. You're in this old Scottish town town, there's a piper, there's the sea, there's the lighthouse, there's history. I would say probably a little bit more of a relaxed vibe, because also you're going a hell of a long way. So there's not like that. There's not that like, get out of Coniston and up that hill. It's more of a like, you turn the corner and everyone starts walking up the step. So I was wearing my heart rate monitor and I think we talked about that on the podcast, that I was going to wear my heart rate monitor for the first like 10 hours just to keep a cap on the effort, just for interest as well. I thought it's just another stat to look at to go interesting. And then, but actually I didn't look at it very much at all, because I was following the navigation, and that was I like my navigation on one screen and all my other stats. But
sorry to go into a bit of Garmin deets. You can put your heart rate on your navigation screen.
Shut up. I learned so much. I really managed to set my watch up better than I've ever done before, but it still wasn't. I still need to go to Garmin school, because it still wasn't exactly, like I said, I had to go between the screens manually. And
I'll saw you out.
You saw, oh, thanks, babe. Thanks, babes. So off we went. Yeah, punchy start, up and down all those little climbs, and then on to lots and lots of lanes. I had chosen to wear the On Cloud Ultra Trail shoe, which I had purchased about a month ago. We all know that I've been a North Face girl for a long time now, but I had seen really good reviews about these On Cloud shoes. I'm not sure I'm saying that right. So I'd worn them around the Isle of Wight, and I'd had 0 foot pain, no blister, nothing. They're so comfortable, they're so bouncy. The grip, the lug is not, you'd be like, oh, they're for a dry trail, basically. They are for a dry trail. And I knew they'd be boxed. So I thought I'll put for the first day, I'm going to wear them. And then I'll go into the night into my North Face, where the lug is bigger and where I'm going to be going slower. But I knew how much like road and lane and track was there. And it was definitely the right choice. Super comfy. Some people I could see in like their Scots and Innovates. And then there'd be like a 5-mile road section. And you can just hear the difference. And it could see the running difference, okay? The guys in the Adidas were like, you could just see the less effort, but it's very tricky. But then as soon as we hit the box, I was all over the place. I was like, I hit a stone at one point on a downhill, and I did that like foot underneath me, straight up, slammed down on my hip. But I was like, you can't complain, because you chose to wear to call those trail trainers. But every time we went on a bit of track or a bit of road, I was so happy. So my aim for the first section, stay relaxed, chat, eat, sleep, rave, repeat, basically. I have obviously torn this apart of like, what was I going to fast? But the fact that I was able to fuel, so I was happy to go like, I gave myself a broad range of like between 60 to 90 grams of carbs an hour. You know, sometimes you're going to get more in, sometimes you're going to get less in. That was good. I had a range. I had a 90 gram Sinful hydration pouch, but I also had then like sandwiches, hot cross buns, skips, baby bells, mango, array of like little sacks. I had electrolytes in my bottles. I didn't have any fuel in my bottles. And then I had all my electrolyte tabs ready. So, because you're not allowed crew for the first 3 checkpoints, they were really strict about that.
Wow. What kind of distance is that?
That's 50 miles, basically, just under 50 miles. I think there was someone DQ'd, because I did see a van and I was like, they'd had a lot of complaints because people had blocked roads and stuff. And it was so quiet. I don't think we got passed by a car. It's a really, really quiet bit of Scotland. So then suddenly to have like 100 vans, and everyone's got camper vans and stuff. So they're really strict. So I knew that I had to be self-sufficient on that. So I had all my electrolyte tabs. I had loads and loads of fuel, smashed through like a little rotation of like sweet, savoury, electrolytes, get to the checkpoints, make sure you check your breasts, make sure your bottles are empty, fill it up, don't be lazy, take your time, electrolyte sachets in, water, a couple of cups of Coke, looked at the Coke. Oh no, it's the cheap Coke. So 3 cups of that means 1 cup of sugary Coke. Just like my biggest thing is like, if I feel happy and I can chat, then it's good. And I was kind of like in that vibe. I was so happy, Gary. I was jogging along. I was feeling so good. I was like choosing to walk the hills rather than like having to walk the hills. I was like, stop walking. run to that, start walking, don't burn any matches. I was having lovely chats, such a different vibe to our normal races that perhaps you and I have done. Don't know anybody, loads of like meeting loads of really lovely guys and like listening to their little stories. Lots of people coming back for redemption who hadn't tried once, twice. This is a tough race. I hadn't actually run with anyone that had finished the race. They were all like, wow, this is the second time, this is the third time. And I was like, yeah, this is passing the miles. Lovely course. Like I know I'm a trail runner, but I love a bit of track.
I'm with you.
I love a bit of like grassy track through big fields with like the wind turbines and that is like, and you're running up and then there's a gate and then you like see the track and that to me is like heaven. There was obviously bog. That's not my joy so much. But yeah, the course was lovely. And then I spent time running with people, just time on my own, singing along, put a bit of music on occasionally, turned it off. I was just content, Gary. I was really content. I haven't felt that good running for a very long time. I guess because as well, I've done really horrible races. Like when you start the spine, there's not the, I feel great because it's just so hard from the start. Even Northern Traverse, I remember feeling quite broken quite early on in that because you hit the lakes and it's hard work. It's
front loaded, isn't it? Northern Traverse.
Yeah, you're climbing the first day. So but whereas this one, like we were running.
So were you completely in the moment though? Because it's funny, I've just finished the book, The Alchemist, and there was a bit about when you can only find joy is when you're not kind of looking at the future or thinking about the past. You're completely present. Now, I don't want to turn it onto my legal 100. I was always thinking, when is it going to happen? How was your mind at that point?
No, I wasn't even thinking about it, Gary. I was thinking, you've got this, Eddie. This is your, in the words of Martine McCutcheon, this is your moment. You've got this. Also, because I was feeling so well, I was like, I wasn't even thinking about it not being sick or anything, because I was just, I was present. I was in that moment, and that moment was a good place. And I was like, I was getting to the checkpoints and I was passing the little points where I was like, this was the time. And I was on that time. And I was like, this never happens to me. Yeah. And I feel good. So I was like, okay, this is great. Weather was perfect. And I was like almost at checkpoint 3, which was like, I think you get to checkpoint 3 and then you can start seeing your crew. And then the race kind of like starts basically. So got into checkpoint 3, and checkpoint 3 is mean because I don't know how long it took me, but there's an out and back up to the up to where the village hall is, where the actual checkpoint is. So you go past your crew, but you don't stop because you have to go and check into the checkpoint and then you come back. I had a lovely time running up to checkpoint because people are coming back out.
Yeah.
So I actually only saw Carly, who was in the lead. She was already out of that checkpoint and seen her crew and going. And I was like, whoa,
she got a fast start, didn't she? Yeah.
She was great. She was smiling. We had a little high five. So I ran along that road into that checkpoint, was like, I'm not stopping. I'm not even coming in because I'm going back to my crew. And then ran back the mile, like back again. And it was slightly downhill. So everybody's like running up to the checkpoint a bit sad. And you're coming downhill knowing you're going to see your crew. So that was lovely. Saw lots of people cheering to the crew. The plan was to stop there, change my socks, clean my feet, alcohol gel, and it's not a wet wipe. It's basically like a bandage you put over a cut. Alcohol gel on that. It cleans your foot totally and it dries it out really quickly. Cleaned off all my feet. Debs did this all for me. She was a little bit violent on my hamstrings. She was like, lift your leg. And I was like, I just done 50 miles. You lift my leg. That's my feet were in great nick. No blisters, no sore patches, socks on, cup of tea, peanut butter sandwich, little chat. Mel was there. She was crewing Dave, chat with Mel, packet of skips, got up, long section now, 22 miles to the next checkpoint. But that's fine. Repacked my bags. Off I go. And literally ran round the corner and just went... Sorry, this is going to get graphic now, everybody. If you're running or if you're eating, you don't want to listen. I literally, everything that had gone down literally came straight back up with no warning. So sorry, everyone.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
And I was like, okay, that could just be, you just put loads of stuff into your stomach and you're obviously in a heightened sense of like, it wasn't ready for it. and you should have sat for longer and let it go down. So I was like, okay. But then I was like, that you'd banked those calories, you've got the fuel like for this run, and you've just put all those in and it's all come straight back up. What I should have done, I was literally round the corner from the checkpoint. What I should have done then is gone back. I should have just turned around. I was like, half a mile, turned around, gone back and gone. It's all come back up.
Not many people would have though, would they? Really, honestly, who would turn around and go back?
Yeah, they probably would have left. Kind of thought, well, maybe it just needed, puke and rally and I'm going to feel better. And I did feel okay. The next section, it was like up and down, but on a track next to a lock. And this lovely lady was taking photos and she's like, enjoy the views. I was like, I'm not looking at anything. Oh, honey, that's cute.
If you could keep the fuel down of this next section, because you just emptied it out, did you have enough to get you?
So this is what turned really, really quickly was then I was sick then. So then I carried on, and the guys that I'd been running with, some of them didn't have crew. Lots of them didn't have crew, I think. So they had taken a bit longer at checkpoint and they started to come back past me. I very, very quickly felt terrible. So I went from like feeling great, managing myself, to like, there was no like slow burn of like, which that I've had before of like, don't feel good. I very quickly went from like, I feel great to suddenly I felt horrendous. I was being sick, but it was that nasty sickness where you get like, oh my God, it's coming. And then you get really hot and sweaty and shaky. And so I would then be like really sick. And then I would have to take like 2 or 3 minutes to like just get my sight back and compose myself and be like, oh, breathe, try and sip a little bit of water. And then while that is going on, so while your body is going into like a total revolt, I was still trying to like, try and run. It's ridiculous to be like, the whole body is like shaking and gone like, ugh. And then I'd be like, run. It was so runnable. And I was walking. I was not walking though, to be honest, Gary. I was like stumbling over my poles. I wasn't able to go in a straight. I was like, what has happened to it? Literally within half an hour. And I think this is what like really shocked Rach and Debs as well, was that I was like, went from leaving that checkpoint 3 and everything was really great and fine. And they were like packed up, obviously we're going to the next checkpoint. Like within half an hour, it was almost like my body went into a shock. So this is 4 days later. So this is quite like, there's a lot of reflection and I need to talk to people and see what actually like, it's almost like the sickness started and the body pulled the emergency cord straight away. Whereas normally I can get into like 24 hours, 48 hours and the emergency cords would be pulled, but I would have the power of attorney and be like, no, to pull the cord. But the body like went like shut down and I had nothing to like pull on. And I was like, come on. And it was just like it just went, the dial went from like 80% and just went.
It's wild.
Honestly, I was quite frightened at
how,
how
but
like
you were.
The guys that I'd been running with, they were 3 or 4 of them. They came past. They were so lovely, and they're like, oh. And they'd walk with me, but then obviously it's so runnable. They'd be like, we're gonna run. I'd be like, yeah, save yourself. Yeah. Leave me, guys. You don't have the concern for yourself when you're like, I wasn't, because I was just like, I'm not sure I can actually get to the next bit where Debs and Rach are. Like what? Like it, the whole something had happened. And I don't know if it wasn't a bit of my body. I've done this to my body so many times now that it went, the brain went into a like pre-catastrophic, like, we know this is going, so we're not going to let you go there. Anyway, I didn't manage to get anything down, everything I tried.
It's like it's another level of trauma. I remember in Northern Traverse, in one things you said, you knew it would pass. And then this is just like something like a new experience completely. Because a lot of the time we can reflect on things that have happened in the past and we know, it's going to be crap for 5 hours, but we're going to work through this, blah, 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 puke and rally, whatever it is. Then it's like, oh, wow, we've never had this before. This is another level.
This was another level of like, I've never felt this bad before, that I am actually like, I just wanted to lie down. Anyway, got to Debs and Rach after a lot of walking on this lovely track. Got to event, so slow. Got to Debs and Rachel where they'd pulled up, and I just said, I just need to stop. I need to stop. I need to put my head, I just need this to stop. I need to stop. I need to shut my eyes and I need to just like try and stop whatever is going on. So I got in the car. Oh God, the midges were terrible. I was like, I need water, sipping on water, sort of like tried to shut my eyes, but of course your legs are like into like this like cramping, like horrible state of like lay down, and was able to get some water in, but then everything within like 10 minutes, poor Debs's car. It got hit hard. It got hit so bad. Well, what do you do? What do you do there? I don't think Debs and Rach even really knew what to do.
Yeah.
I was so ill. Rach sent me the picture. She was like, "Are you ready for the picture, Eddie?" I was like, "That's what I look like that's what I'm going to look like when I'm dead."
Can we use that as a thumbnail for this week's episode?
My God, it's perfect. Well, what can I do? What can I do? But honestly, Gary, that wasn't even going, it wasn't going, what can I do? Which is always before in the races, that has been my go-to, like, what can I do? What can I do? This one was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do because I'm actually really scared of how bad I feel and I want this to go away. And I think the only way I can get this to go away is if I lie on the ground, just close my eyes and never wake up. Anyway.
Did that give you relief though, when you did have those?
So I was like, what am I going to do? There's nothing I can do. I'm lying here. I don't feel any better, really. I've just got to keep on moving and I've just got to hope. I managed to eat, I think maybe like a few skips or something. I had drunk the water. So they filled me up with Coke and I just said, right, I think it was 10 miles to the next checkpoint. I said, I'm going to walk. I'm going to walk it and try and, I knew it was over like quite a lot of, now we're going to hit some bogs. I'm going to walk it and try and just get the fuel back on board and it will all be okay. Got out, all stiff legs, got out, started moving. And actually I felt okay for like a couple of miles. I guess you get that few little bits of like, and I was moving. I was like, I think the fact that I'd like resigned myself, okay, where we can walk, don't try and run and just try and get the calories in. So I was okay for like maybe like 2 or 3 miles. And then that dial just went, and people started coming past me, Gary. Like I thought I was moving quite well and they just came past me like I was standing still and I could not generate any of power. And I would be like, come on. And there was just like nothing, nothing coming out.
Can you imagine the deficit your body's in though?
Couldn't understand how it got into this deficit like so quickly, like especially as I'd like fueled so well, like all day. I was like, how has this happened that suddenly the body has dropped to this like absolute stumbling, gibbering wreck? Yeah. The next section was just like I walked, people coming past, like obviously it was and there's nothing that anybody can do. Do you need anything? No, I just need to be allowed to lie here and die. Anyway, I eventually got to checkpoint 3 in the dark. It seemed to take forever to get to it. People had come past me.
Do you think, like, your ring was sensational, all the right noises, but do you think you went into it ill and you didn't really realise it?
No, I'm absolutely fine. No, I'm not taking any of that. Okay. I was not ill at all. I'm absolutely fine. Maybe there are some answers a bit later on. Anyway, stumbled into checkpoint 3. Great checkpoint. I was looked after like a queen, but I was obviously on total fuse. I asked for a bucket and a medic. I was like, right, what can we do? Debs and Rach were like, right, what are we going to do? And I was just like, I don't know what to do because I've had to go really deep in that section much earlier than I anticipate. I've got nothing. I've used everything already and I'm 70 miles into this race. Pulled out all my experience, right? Get into winter kit. Still trying to tell the mind that this was going to happen. Change my socks, clean my feet, charge stuff up. Trying to do that, I cannot tell you how horrendous that is when at the same time you're holding a bowl over your legs, being sick, and you're trying to tell yourself, but I'm getting ready for the next 20-mile section through the night, and your brain's going, but I haven't eaten anything. But you're having to be like, but you'll be fine. You will be totally fine. And everybody in there is obviously willing you to be like, get on, get up, get out. You'll be fine. In my head, I was like, I don't think anybody realizes how ill I do not feel like something is deeply, deeply wrong with my body. And I know how deep I can go. And I know how I can drag myself. And I've done that. I've done that many times now. But this doesn't feel like that. This feels like I'm out of control and I've gone too deep in my head. I'm in like this deep danger zone, and but everybody's like, so sleep, eat, and I was like, I'm not sure I can even like get out this door. But obviously, like there's you want to finish, so I'm not going to voice that. So I said to the medic,
sometimes it's easy if you just like fell over and broke a leg or something.
I'm like, is this because I'm really anyway, he took my blood pressure and he said, you've had a bowl of soup, that will fill you up, you'll be fine. And I was thinking, okay, if he says I'm going to be fine, I'll be fine. So I had a little sleep and for 10 minutes, and I literally lay down 10 minutes, woke up with Rach spooning me going, come on, up you get. I'm like, can we just stay here and cuddle? Got up, and I'm afraid I can't remember anybody's names, but I remember all your faces. They'll be etched on mine forever. I was like, this is exactly how I felt. I had a bowl of mac and cheese and I was like, okay, bowl of mac and cheese, I could do that. So I managed about 3 mouthfuls of that, and it did go down. And then I just sort of thought, I am not going to. Oh, I forgot to say. So on the way in, I'd rung Lucy because I was like, who can I ring that is going to help me?
Phone a friend. I love it.
Who would you phone a friend? Who would you phone? It was interesting. Obviously, Bryn was there, but I was like, who can I call that I'm going to go, what help me? A doctor?
Yeah.
A dear friend? A legend? She was like, hi, Eddie, I'm naked on my bed. And so she said to me, like, get into the checkpoint. Don't quit at the checkpoint, Eddie. Never quit at the checkpoint. Get out of the checkpoint. So I was like, that was in my head. And she was also like, if this is it, this is it. This is okay. Yeah. Like, I know how you feel. I don't feel like I've got to go. Like, no big decisions. So she was really wise words, but I was going to get out of the checkpoint. So, and Debs and Rach were like, our heads down and going, what can we do? And Debs was like, how are you going to feel on Wednesday? And that's always what I say to my clients as well. Like, how do you feel when it's all over, or you've got to go home? How are you going to feel? In my head, I was like, but I don't feel this is a choice, because I haven't got the choice. The body is like, it's not a case of like gritting, grizz, strength, courage. This is a case of like, I'm actually scared of where this is going, but also I know I could push myself to where this is going. The next section, obviously through the night, 22 miles. They said, we can get to you at 7 miles. I said, right, let's do that 7 miles. Within that 7 mile section, let's hope things are going to feel better. So I had a gym, and the guys obviously were like, yes, we've got her out. At last, everyone had been and gone. Hundreds of people had been and gone. The party had happened and gone, which again is like horrible feeling because you've been there so long. I got out the checkpoint, straight up the hill, and I knew the next bit was like bog, really tricky nav in the dark. There's no path. You're just like, that's my happy place in the night, just following that line, stumbling around, seeing the little mice and the little frogs. I rang Bryn and said, I'm going to go out into the night. They're going to meet me at 7 miles. I think, if I do feel okay, I think I'm going to be okay. Go to sleep. First couple of miles, I did feel okay. I was stomping up the hill. And then I tried to just reach the bottle from my pack to sip the nozzle. And the action of just reaching the bottle, Gary, just trying to put it to my mouth, it just sent me into a total like vomiting frenzy. So I couldn't even like get the fluid to go into my lips. Anyway, I could see behind me like head torches quite a long way back, but the nav was really hard. Whether it wasn't, people doing it might go, Eddie, it wasn't hard at all. But I was really having to follow the line because there wasn't a path, so I kept coming off the path. And then
you're fighting fires, Eddie. You're fighting.
Was I? Do you think it was? It was a fire, and it was really wet and boggy. But I was like, I was focusing on that. I took nothing on, no food, no drink, because it was just my brain had gone. The body had like gone, and I was just like basically just trying to keep moving forward on this line. And anyone that's done these long runs will know that. You're just like, I was acting like someone that had done 200 miles, not 80 miles. Anyway, these head torches got closer and closer, and there were bits where it would go on a track and it would be running, and I would normally be running those bits, but I was just like walking along, and I just felt I wasn't even really sure what I was doing. The lovely people came past, and they were like, join the fun bus. They were all chatting. They were having having a great time, and I couldn't get on they were walking and I couldn't get on the back of them, and they just disappeared. What I was doing, I don't know. How slow I was going, I don't know. Anyway, I was going very slow because it took me 3 hours to do 7 miles. Those people had long gone, and Debs and Rach were waiting at this little intersection, and then the next section was 20 miles. Got there, they'd actually brought the paramedic up to check me. So I'd seen a medic at the checkpoint, and the paramedic hadn't been there, and the paramedic had come up, and this is just, oh God, this is just like the worst. Just like, this is not meant to, I'd written all these spreadsheets, Gary. I'd done all this work. This is not how it's meant to be. Anyway, he said, come and sit in the back of my car. You make a decision here, because I know what he's going to find is going to be really bad. So I have to either go, no, I'm fine, or go to the back of that car. And I know what he's going to find at that back of the car. He's going to go, what did you say your name was? You've done this before? But there wasn't a choice. I'm a mum.
It's good to hear you say that, because it's quite easy to maybe lie to a checkpoint team just to kind of mask how bad things are going, just so you can get out there.
But I think as well, there wasn't any masking, because I mean, he could have said, get in my car and I'm going to drive you to Clute, and I'd have been like, fine, whatever. Like, I was not, I'm not in a fit state to make any I couldn't even sip the water. So I sat in the back of the car, and then he was like, Phil, can you get the pulsometer thing, whatever it is, on your finger? And he couldn't get it to work. And he's like, can you warm your hands up a bit? And I was like looking at my hands, like going, why, who is this? And why does he want me? Honestly, why do you want me warm hands? My hands were like totally dead. They were like so cold. I was like, I don't know how to warm them up. I think then he was like, okay, I did this. So he got all the big guys out to take all my, take my blood pressure, take my body temperature. Poor Debs and Rach are like standing there going, what do we do with this? It's 2:00 in the morning. Yeah. And it's a very nasty position for them to be in, because I'm their friend. Most of all, that's the biggest thing, is that this isn't somebody they don't know, or this isn't a joke. This is serious now. And if I leave here, they have got to send me off knowing that there is a 10-hour plus section, and they've got to wave goodbye to me. And I could tell. And for Debs to go, Eddie, like, she'd cut my arm off. Yeah. She'd be like, get back at you, what you're doing. But for her to go, Eddie, this is bad. Anyway, he took my, he couldn't get any readings from my finger, obviously, because my hands were dead. Also, I thought in my head, I was like, my hands are just dead. There's nothing I can do. He took my blood pressure, and it was something 96/60. So it was really low. Okay. And he was like, that's really seriously low blood pressure. I would expect to have low blood pressure after like the dehydration. It's the middle of the night. I have quite low blood pressure anyway. And then he took my body temperature, and that was 35. Which is really low as well. He just went, I have to take your bib off you. Now, if you say you're going to carry on, I will not let you carry on. I was like, almost confused. And I think looking back and having read about it, and I'm going to talk to Dr. Rebecca, we're going to do a call about, like, obviously I was in a very low, the blood sugar was so low that 35 degrees is you're hypothermic. Even though I had shorts and t-shirt on, the body has shut down everything. The brain was so confused. The fact I just wanted to lie down, because it has gone into
survival.
A survival mode. And I was definitely, you know me, I'm not dramatic, but I think another hour and I'd have laid down.
It's valuable to share this, Eddie, because you would not have thought in those conditions that something like hypothermia.
No, I had shorts and t-shirt on, and I was hot. I was hot. I'd had a top on, and I'd had my buff under my head torch, and I'd taken the buff off, and I almost felt like I was still like sweating. But in my inner core of my brain, there was that red siren, and that siren had started quite early. And it was like I was thinking about people. I'd had friends quite recently that had come out of races because they'd pushed and then been in hospital for like a week. I was thinking about our friends that have gone up into the fells and never come back. And that
we hear it quite often that when you go too deep, I've heard of for big races that we've both been on the start line. Yeah, you're lucky to come back, but sometimes you're never that same athlete again.
And I did wonder, I thought, that winter 200, the spine and the spine was obviously the hardest thing I've ever done. And the Cheviers, we all remember, were not my funniest hour. But I always had a semblance of control. And the Northern Traverse, well, you saw me out there, though it was like a rally. I was always like, you were never like, Eddie.
I was never distressed. No, it was tough.
You would never have left
me.
You would never have been like, we need to call in. You need to winter 200. I think I probably dug a much bigger hole than, because I didn't have the crew, nobody saw. And I didn't even was really aware, like, how deep that I dug to get myself to that finish and how low I was. But I was able always to keep moving then till like the very, like, I think the last 10 miles were when that sort of like system shut down. But I was always like moving, however slow it was. And I always had purpose. And I always had that bit of my brain that was still like, I think it was still on, like the survival mode was still on, was just like, okay, keep going. When I got to this bit, this road section, which will live in my mind forever, that had gone. And that was really scary, that I was like, if they hadn't been there, I'd have just carried on, and just walked myself into whatever. I'm really glad that the paramedic did take those stats, because I was like, this is almost like a valid, the body is not good. The body is not right. And I am not going to, it wasn't, I think a lot of people I had hundreds of messages, and so I haven't replied. I will sit down, get back to it. It wasn't a decision in the end of the day. It wasn't a decision of like, am I tough enough to do this? Am I brave enough to do this? It was actually a really courageous decision to go, I am not going to do this. I had wrestled, not even wrestled, but I had been thinking about the kids. Though actually, to be honest, I wasn't thinking about much, but I was thinking of walking through my front door and saying to them, they hadn't finished. And then I just thought, I think actually I need to walk through the front door. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Actually having the courage to go, I'm not going to do this to myself, because that next section I could not come out of it.
It could be the difference, yeah.
But it also could ruin me forever. Where I've got to go, it could mean I never run with you, I never run with my friends. If something terrible happens, or I have to be rescued, Bryn won't let me he'll be like, you're not, I couldn't put Rach and Debs into that. I couldn't put the race into that.
To me, now it's focused. It focuses you.
Yeah. I thought I would prefer to go through the trauma of not finishing a race than the potential of where this is going, and how, I think we all know where it would have gone, and something would have happened. I might have got myself through that section. If I was going to back anybody to get through that section, I would have backed myself to get through that section. But the effort it would have taken to get through that section, I think it would have been done. Yeah. But also, if something had happened in that section, I would never have forgiven myself. I wouldn't have ever wanted anybody to have waved me off on that section. I wanted to live. I was like, This is meant to be a hobby. This is meant to be fun. And if you go into this section, you're going in with your ego because you don't want to tell people that it all went wrong. Something you did wasn't right. You would prefer to not have to face that and to go out and potentially terrible things to happen. That's not who you are as a person. You are strong, you're a strong, confident woman, and you can, by going, actually, I am feeling terrible, I feel ill, I can't do this. To be able to go, I can't do this, is a horrible thing to do, but it is also much harder to do than to go, I'm going to go out, and I'm not saying this very well, but you sort of get the point. Anyway.
No, you are, get it.
So the paramedic was like, why don't you go and sleep and then come back to me and we'll do the obs again. I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink. It's going to take me, well, what I've done, the damage is done. The damage is done, and the brain is not in a good place, and the body is actually, I think the brain was probably in a worse place than the body, but I don't know, the body was pretty bad. So we went back to the van, we slept for like a couple of hours, woke up in the morning, and it was like that. I think the minute I got to that crossing and I saw Rach and Debs' face, and I was like, it's not my time. And
it's important to share that, Eddie. There's so many, like, you could have maybe dragged yourself to the end, and maybe the worst that could happen, it was an arduous experience, or kind of closely behind that, it puts you off maybe these long things, but then the possible complex implications of pushing yourself too. I don't even want to think about that too much. I'm curious, because you mentioned earlier, how would you feel on Wednesday? We are Wednesday now. I think I can kind of gauge.
I think, the what ifs. So I think you have to tick those what ifs. And actually, obviously, I'm deeply disappointed, because I was really looking forward to this, and I love this stuff, and I wanted to be out there, and I was looking forward to pushing myself. And so that's where the disappointment lies. I didn't get, it's like being invited, looking forward to a party, and then going to the drinks reception and not being allowed the meal. And you're like, oh, so there's a disappointment in that. There's a massive disappointment in my body. But then I'm trying to start to reflect that it's not, that my body actually, it enabled me to do that training block. I had a great training block. I managed to juggle. It wasn't perfect, no way, but I managed to juggle so much stuff. And my body gave me everything that it could. And it got me there, though I'm like disappointed, and I'm like, there's that wrestle of that voice of like, I hate you so much, so you must be punished. But then there's the other voice, which I'm very proud of, which is stronger, which is going, maybe it was your body that saved yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
That went, actually, this is not your time, and this is not right, and we're not going to let you do this. And so that my brain, it like almost like managed, the power of my brain, it managed to like sort of curtail that slightly. So there's that wrestling of like, self-hatred, and then, but also like a deep self-love, and finding that like, actually, that's almost a very life-affirming moment of when you're like, and I haven't had those in any of the other puke fests that I've had, that when I faced myself, proper depth of my soul stuff, and looked at myself, what I saw was somebody that wanted to show her kids that making the hardest decision, and the one that you have to sit with, and that people might have opinions of, people might think less of you, people might talk about it, but actually, if you make that decision and you choose that harder path, and I knew that like, okay, the next few weeks are going to be rubbish. You choose that harder path, but choosing that harder path at the end of the day is the path that's going to take you on into the future, and you will be stronger for doing that, for making that, and then living with what you have to live with. And we've all had to make like hard decisions, make things that at the time are going to be awful, and that perhaps other people might think, but holding on to that, like, that was the really toughest decision to make, but in the long term, it was the right decision, and I'm 100% would not look back on that and go, I could have carried on. It was 100%. I have got to come through that front door. I do want to work out what this is, and maybe I've had some wise emails from our friend the Rev. You might be listening to this. You might have DNF'd, or you might have the endless tummy troubles that Gary and I have. You might find yourself like questioning, who am I? What part does running play in my life? And actually, this might resound with you, but I think it's really important as well that it is just running. It is just running.
It's got to improve your life. If it's not improving your life,
then it isn't. So,
I think your kids will reflect, Eddie, on this. I think things...
Gary, they don't care.
Do they not? Yeah, but no, but I suppose what I was going to say, I remember, I'm not going to say what these moments were, but things that my mum and dad went through at the time, I didn't get it. I didn't appreciate it. But then I think now as an adult, the decisions they had to make, and yeah, running sounds quite trivial in the scheme of things. It's like, first world problems, but I'm sure one day they will. What about your biggest critic, though? What was Rory's response? Sorry, that's a Piers Morgan style question, isn't it? Sorry, apologise.
So the kid, I say the kids don't care. They want their mum. They want their mum home, and they don't want their mum broken. They want their mum to be back in their lives, to be present, the biggest cheerleader, the washer, the cleaner, the cooker-upper, the constant in their life. That to them is what they want. So Eves was just like, ran across because I got dropped home, and then, of course, straight back into Rory's making his debut at his new football match. So I had a shower and I took myself there to watch it, Gary.
Awesome.
I had to lie on the sideline. I put on my tracksuit that should never be seen outside the house, and I just lay on the sideline watching a minute. Evie came across the pitch and just was like, hug mum. She's young enough, she didn't really grasp it. And Rory just like gave me away, scored 2 goals, and then he came over and he went, "So you quit?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did, Rory, but I wasn't very well." And it was sort of like medically advised. He said, "So the medic advised you to quit?" And I said, "Yeah." And he just nodded and went, "Should we go to McDonald's?"
It's like Roy Keane getting stretched off with a cruciate.
Stretch off the cruciate. So and actually, I think they've seen the Finley, my eldest, actually said to me, and this is the deep insight into teenagers. He was like, "Mum, you must feel a bit discombobulated because you're meant to be at your race and you're here, and you must feel a bit like down and low and not really know what you're doing." And I was like, 15-year-old boy.
What a sensitive boy.
I was like, "Yeah, that is exactly how I feel." And he just put his arm round sight. And it was like, that's enough touching me. So yeah, my biggest critics are also my biggest saviours, because I think if I hadn't had that call, things might have. But I don't know. We can look back and
ifs and buts.
Ifs and buts. Anyway, I have to say a big thank you to the GB Ultras. What a team, what a race. If you've not done one of their races before, they were, the joy, the fun, the laughter, the checkpoints, the support, lots of them out on like courses. They just bit corners in their little GB and just cheering, and people doing the race, everybody that I met out on the course, they were 100% my vibe. We had a lot of laughing. We had a lot of like eat, sleep, walk the hill, run the hill, always running. I love all that. I love all that sort of bouncing on the wrong way, we're turning this way. And so I really, sorry I haven't checked the tracker. I really hope you all had a great race. Loads of great girls out there crushing it, really strong. It was really strong. Lots of great girls looking incredible. And all you listeners and everybody that sent messages and all the messages, which is when you beat yourself up about, the races and stuff. Only messages of love. Only messages of, because obviously if you don't like me, then I'm going to message you going, only Rory would do that. You total loser, mum. Why'd you quit? Only messages of deep people that have been there, that have done it. At the end of the day, people only want you to be at home, back, safe. All they want is that you're there in their lives for the future. And so I'm taking that, and I will be screenshotting some of those messages and putting them on my mirror.
Thanks for sharing it. It's tough. Goodness me, I've had a few bruising races, and I know it's hard to share things when you don't want to do a podcast episode whatsoever. And
well, we didn't do it yesterday. We could have done it yesterday, and there wasn't been. It takes me a while, and always I process my thoughts. And again, this podcast would have been different another 2 days later. I think it is my calling in life. Your calling is to do really well at races and talk about how great you do in the races. And my calling is to tell everybody that it's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to, live with the highs, live with the lows. Thank you for concerns and messages, dear listeners. One day we'll do this.
Got to keep showing up.
Do I keep showing up? I mean, I've retired this week, and I can never, ever, ever want to do that again. Ever, ever, ever. But don't worry, within half an hour, when we've at the end of this podcast, I'm going to tell you what I've already entered and how I'm going to conquer it.
Our 15-minute chat has evolved into 1 hour and, well, there's been a bit of stuff that's going to be edited out. So over an hour of chat. But Eddie, I think...
I'm so sorry. I just went into I was relived it, didn't I?
I think it's so powerful and so important.
Do you think... I'm so sorry if...
I hear it quite often. Running ruins people. And for you to be present and think about going through the door was more important than anything else, even if it was just for the longevity of your running life or something far more serious than that. I think, your message has been pretty powerful today. So thank you. Yeah, I was as curious as everybody what was happening behind the dots. So thank you so much for sharing the story. We're not going to do the quick five.
We're not in the mood, are we? Eddie is we're not ready for joy and laughter.
But you mentioned you did have your headphones with you. And even before this, I think you'd bought some super duper headphones that actually stored the music in all of this trauma.
Oh yeah, I never did that.
Was there a little ray of sunshine on your playlist that we can use as our Instagram story?
I was loving my playlist.
Hey.
So I've been adding to my playlist, and it was an eclectic mix of Hans Zimmer, to my Hans Zimmer fans out there. Here to hands. I was running through the fields. This is my Elysium, if I'm whatever he says in Gladiator. So there's a bit of that. There was Pink Pony Club. I have to tell you, the minute I did start feeling ill, the headphones. No, I think I did put a bit of podcast on. I did put a bit of Sally McRae on overnight. I was thinking,
she's going to pump you up.
I need to be pumped, but I can't tell. It was literally noise. I couldn't tell you what she said.
Yeah.
But there was a song. I didn't actually listen to this when I was running, but there is a song that I thought, let's go back and go to what I'm drawing on to keep myself from not actually getting out of bed is I'm drawing on all the joy of this year, because I'm obviously I only had this one race this year, and then what do you do when the race didn't go to plan? You have nothing else, and that's a dark place where I don't want to go, to be I'm getting older, the bones are getting creakier, I'm not getting any faster. But then you look at Anna, and she's 10 years older than me, and so I'm breathe, Eddie, you're not got a muscular injury. The stomach can be, I'm counting that the stomach can be solved. Actually, though I haven't done a race, I've done a ton of really cool stuff this year that people would chew their arm off to be running with the people that I've run, the adventures that I've done. We've done the Tea and Trails Ultra, we've recce'd that, I've run the West Highland Way, I've run around the Isle of Wight, I climbed Ben Lomond 3 times in a day. We went and did the 4 Points of Contact Day with Debs preparing for Western States. I've done loads of really cool stuff that to me means a lot more than any race, and the relationships I've formed, met people, the laughter, that is a million times more important to me than any race, any dot will ever be. And so this song that I've chosen was actually, we went to see Skerryvore, which is a Scottish band. It's not, this isn't the band, so don't write it down. You couldn't get more Scottish. It's not really Bryn's, but he bought me the tickets and we took the kids to a concert to go and watch them. Actually, it wasn't actually the band, it was a girl band. Love it. Again, very symbolic to the year that I've had, called the Lorettes, that were their opening act. They were the coolest 2 girls, and they sing a song called The Home Bird. They came on stage. They said, has anybody done the West Highland Way? And I had literally just done the West Highland Way. I was like, yeah. Anyway, they sing about this bird flying home on the West Highland Way, and it's called Home Bird. And I thought it's kind of, it is the words of it, and it is what not finishing this race was all about. So there we go. We're done. We are done.
Enjoy, Eddie. Thanks for allowing us to use your trauma as our
And if you watch, turn on YouTube now if you're not on YouTube and just look at the state of Eddie.
This is what happens, kids.
And poor Gary's so used to it now. He just stares at me and goes, she'll stop in a minute. Anyway, that big love. Thank you everybody that messaged, to cared, who loved, and we will rise again, but not this week.